Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline, and today we're going to discuss the Kaaba in Mecca and some changes in the Twin Towers. Now, these were brought to my attention by the Lurking Ghost on Retconned, and he posted this final two submissions. Basically, he's been posting different Mandela effects that he's seen, and I'm going to cover this Twin Towers first. This one's kind of a smaller one, but basically he's saying there's some weird banding and striping in the images of the Twin Towers before they were destroyed that he does not remember. The top edge and corner edges all the way down were never reflective enough to make them appear white. The upper several floors were never darker than the rest of the building, and the dark bands below that dividing the building into three equal sections were never able to reflect light at an angle to the point where they appeared white. So quick images of those. I think he's talking about this and this, these lines here. I do not remember them. These dark lines here, I do not remember those either. Here's some more images. Oh, same one. And see up here, it's really, really white at the top and then dark. And then a lot of these images, you can see these bands in here. I agree that there was not this banding here before. Not for me. So, yes, that's changed. I agree with that. All right, let's go back. Okay, so now the one I really want to talk about is the Kaaba in Mecca. One reason I want to talk about this is because the entire Kaaba, for me, is new. I maybe saw it about a year and a half ago. I was like, what's that black thing? The black rock in the Kaaba is also new for me. Never heard of it. Now, way back, I remember they would always say, okay, Muslims are expected to journey to Mecca if they can. And that was it. And then maybe 8, 9 years ago, they said, oh, you need to circle the center region in Mecca 3 times. I'm sure it was 3 times, and you'd see images of the people circling. And that was it, just circling. Now, it makes sense that they were circling around something, but no, it was just an area they would circle around back then. There was nothing in the middle. And then about 1.5 years ago, I saw this big black thing in the middle, and I looked into it, and I learned about the Kaaba and the black stone of the Kaaba and a little of that history. Now, one thing I definitely remember was that the Kaaba was all black when I first saw it, and I thought it was kind of a little bit creepy because it was 100% black like that. And it was just 100. I'm positive it was all black. It was kind of foreboding looking because of that back then. I also spent quite a bit of time looking at images of it, trying to find images because I wanted to add one of the images to what was my introduction at the time. Is you now see that the collage at the end of my videos, and you will see that the black stone of the Kaaba is in there. So I spent a lot of time looking at images. I had a hard time figuring out what the Kaaba really was because you could not find images that showed what was underneath the black cloth. There was very little information at all on that. They would talk about the history of the Kaaba, a little bit about what it meant, but you couldn't find anything on the construction. It was also all black. Now, this person here, the Lurking Ghost, also remembers it all black. It used to be covered by an all black curtain that went all the way around. No one was allowed to look under the curtain and see what the temple looked like. I can't say about that. I don't know if anybody was allowed because I couldn't find any info either way. Now the covering has gold on it and some people go inside. One thing I can tell you is that there were no images of the inside when I was looking about 6 months ago. So that's changed for me now. There's quite a few images that weren't around. Here's the current Kaaba. Now, currently the storyline is that this covering called Kisma is changed every year. But this is a 2016 article, so this is not a recent Kisma, and yet there were no images with this gold, and there were no images with this white at all. In fact, in all the literature, it still says the Kisma is black with gold. It does not say that there is white on it. So that's interesting. Also, I never saw this brickwork before. I had spent a lot of time trying to find images of what was underneath the the black covering at the time, and I couldn't find anything. Also up here, this used to be just black cloth up here as well. Now you can see it's a structure. And another thing is this thing is just way bigger than it was 1.5 years ago. It was maybe half, even a little bit less that size. I mean, it was like 2, 3 stories high. Now it's a lot bigger now. And this circle thing here, this half circle, was not there before. I looked at a lot of images. There was no images of this with these little mini towers here. It just wasn't there. So this has changed a lot. I guess I shouldn't be surprised since it's new. Also, you've got this little downspout here where water comes off the structure, and it's supposed to be holy water. It drains out off the top. But like I said before, that was just fabric before, so there was no downspout either for me. Okay, so let's get more into this Kaaba. Okay, you can see different images of it. It doesn't always have this white stripe here, but all of them have considerable gold markings on it here. Quite, I think, a lot nicer looking than my old version with all the gold on there. It looks more sophisticated. Okay, so here you can see the lower region, which you could never see underneath the cloth before. Now you can clearly see. There's weird choices here in this brickwork. It looks like there was a door here or something. I think there's a history that it used to have a door. But all these bricks are all different sizes and everything, which is kind of interesting. Okay, so here's a view inside the Kaaba, which I never saw before. And it's a lot bigger now. You got these tall pillars. Here's some old images of it. So, interesting. I think this will just keep changing. Okay, here's the black stone of the Kaaba. The black stone is supposed to have some holy meanings. You can look up the history. One thing interesting is this outer silver colored ring here. It's a different shape in almost every image. Sometimes it's more oval, sometimes it's really squat. You can see here. Now, before when I looked at this, you had a hard time seeing what was behind here. But now it's sort of open in this image. And here's a bunch more images. See, like here it's very oval. This is actually an image I saw last time, these ones here. And it looked like it was Photoshopped, so I was kind of confused why I couldn't find a more realistic image of it. But this is one of the older images here. Okay, so you can see different images. What is visible on the top of it. Sometimes it's dark in here. Sometimes it's painted real black. Sometimes it's not. Where the black comes down changes, even like from this image to this image, you can see that it makes it. So I don't know if they're painting it differently or covering it differently, or are they switching out these silver coverings on a regular basis. I mean, look how oval it looks here. So the whole thing is pretty weird for me because I didn't have this, and it's just a really weird kind of continuously morphing shape. Okay, there's that downspout. I don't know why. I just thought that was really interesting. You can see water coming down. I guess because it wasn't there and the top wasn't like that before. 6 lesser known facts. Okay, one of the lesser known facts that was really interesting here was that it mentions in here a couple times about, and then a couple other places about a pool around the Kaaba. But I tried to look up the pool. I couldn't really find it. But later on we'll see. Okay, so here is a kind of a mock-up of the inside versus the outside, which I found interesting. Now another thing that was weird. Oh, okay, here's the old pool. All right. The storyline for this is that, and I've never heard this one before, that when it rains really hard, you have to swim around the Kaaba in the old days. You could not walk around, and it would flood so hard that you'd actually have to swim. And in my old timeline, it was 3 times around the Kaaba, but in this time, it's 3 times fast and 4 times slow. So that's 7 times swimming around the Kaaba. Could be a little tiring. Okay, here's another thing that's kind of confusing me. Now, this is a pulled back image, and I just don't remember I never saw any pictures like this with so many people and so many levels. But the circle thing here is really confusing me. You got this circle. It looks like it's got 2 additional stories off of ground level and all these ramps coming from structures behind. So this image you see in some of the images, you can see the circle thing, but not in other of them. So take a good look at that and see if you can relate that to some of these other images. Okay, so I'm guessing the circle thing has to be in here, but you can't really see it. You can see that. Just see how big it is now. It's amazing to me. All right, there's a pulled back image. Again, I'm having trouble seeing. You can see that little, right there, you could see that little walkway that's on the ground level, but I don't see the circle thing. Are they taking that down and putting it back up on a regular basis? Okay, so here's this one with the circle causeways on it, and then here you don't see anything. So I mean the Kaabas look about the same size there. So I mean, is this a temporary structure that they're right here again? Are they taking that down and putting it back up? I wasn't able to find any info on that at all, but that was kind of confusing. See, there's the circle thing again. But then here, nothing. Here's that new little plaza area here. See it there. So I don't know what's going on with that. Oh, here's the old image of them swimming around the Hajj again, around the Kaaba again. Okay, so the Kaaba's a lot bigger for me. The area around it is a lot more sophisticated and built up. There's a lot more people going to it. There's 7 trips around the Kaaba instead of 3, like there used to be for me. Overall, I just wanted to say also that Saudi Arabia is just way bigger for me. I mean, it's the size of Europe now almost. Now, granted, I think Europe has really shrunk. I mean, incredibly. Europe used to be, about the size of the USA in my memory at least. But now if you look at Saudi, it's huge. It's rivals India. I mean, India used to be way bigger than India was India was like number 3, I think, in my old timeline as far as size, but it's a lot smaller and Saudi's a lot bigger. So I know, just this timeline, it looks like Saudi's just going to be a lot bigger and maybe a little more influential than it was before. So anyways, a lot of changes there. This is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.